What's up guys, welcome back to Unlimited Reads. My name is Chris and today I'll be doing my December wrap up, and stick around because as per usual I'll also be doing my book of the month. Now December was a pretty hectic month for me on the reading front. I was originally going to read 3 books and just kick back and take it easy, and if it took all month to read these 3 books then so be it, but I ended up reading 5 books in total, which was great. So without further ado, let's get stuck into them. The first book I'd like to talk about is Mine by Robert McCammon, one of his earlier novels, which was fantastic. I did review this one in depth on the channel, so if you haven't caught that video, please take a look where I go into a bit of detail about that. But the book itself was really well written. It's about a delusional woman who lives in the 80s, but she was a 1960s Berkeley radical, part of a terrorist group who performed terrorist acts, and she fell in love with the leader of that group. But now she is under the delusion that she must provide her old lover, who she dubs as Lord Jack, with a baby. So she devises a very, very clever and hair-raising plan to steal a baby from a maternity ward at a local hospital before going across the country to eventually reach California, where she believes Lord Jack is waiting for her and wants her to bring him their son. And obviously you'll know what sort of hornet's nest stir up she would cause with stealing this baby, because then you've got the desperate mother who wants the baby back, of course, and launches her own pursuit across country trying to get her baby boy back. And the acts that Mary Terra commits in this book are very, very shocking, and in the review video I do warn people that the start of the book is very confronting, but not everything is as it seems, and I would just urge people to read on from those pages because it is a thrill ride from start to finish. So there are horror elements in this one, but it's mainly a thriller book, and there's law enforcement entities that get involved, and there's a very satisfying ending to the book. But the way Robert McCammon writes is very, very it's very, very addictive to read his books, and I had a great time with it, and yeah, I would recommend it to anyone who wants to pick it up. The next book I read was Private Beijing by James Patterson, co-written by Adam Hamdy, who is a really good thriller writer who writes his own stuff. This is part of the Private series featuring Jack Morgan as the main character, who owns a lot of private investigation firms across the world, and his Beijing branch comes under attack for whatever reason, and there are a couple of other sites that are at risk as well, and it's up to Jack Morgan to race against time to find the culprits and solve the mystery. This one, it was okay. It wasn't my favourite out of the Private series, not by a long shot. It sort of dragged in the first third of the book, but then began to pick up in the second half, which wasn't too bad, but I certainly didn't read it as quickly as I have other Private novels. And one thing that's missing from the series is the last couple of books haven't actually had this subplot which involves his twin brother Tommy, where there's been a lot of conflict there, and I really want to see the series explore that a little bit further, because there are a lot of unresolved issues between the brothers, and I think things need to come to a head and an ultimate confrontation needs to happen. And hopefully in future Private books that does happen, but this one certainly wasn't my favourite of the series. It did take a bit longer to get through. I don't know why, but it just didn't grab me as other books had. But you know, it was still okay, and they're a fairly quick read, but I'm hoping the next Private book is better. The next book I read was Dark Game by Michael Robertson Jr. This is the first full-length novel of the Lance Brody supernatural suspense series, where Lance has supernatural abilities, being able to talk to the dead. Unfortunately, those sort of abilities attract unwanted attention from evil forces, and you can imagine what could go wrong there once Lance becomes targeted. But this one was about Lance arriving in a small town that's big on its local gridiron football. For the last 3 years, the local football team has been winning every single game. 3 years prior, they were just losing every game. It's because a new coach has come in and has swung things around 180 degrees to make the team win. Now, what's actually making the team win is the mystery at the heart of the book. And in the town, there is a horrifying evil that comes to a head at the end of the book when Lance confronts it. So Michael continues to make things original. He takes well-worn tropes and spins them on their head and just creates something original out of them. And there are 6 more books in the series I plan on reading in Feb. I just want to binge them all, which you know, I'd love to do that in January, but I can't because I'm already committed to another project. But can't wait to get stuck into the rest of the novels. And of course, the other book I read was, or reread, was Stephen King's It for the 4th time. This was the only book I was going to read for December, actually. I was just going to kick back and thought to myself, if it takes me a month to read it, will so be it. But I ended up reading 5 books anyway. Just couldn't help it. It took a couple of weeks to get through it, and I just really enjoyed it for the 4th time. Loved revisiting Derry, loved revisiting the Losers Club, and you know, every time you read it, you pick up a few new things. It was really enjoyable. But you know, I might read it again in another 5 years or so, but it's certainly one of my all-time favourites, and loved every page. Alright, so now we come to my book of the month, and the book of the month was Tom Clancy's Red Winter, written by Mark Cameron, the 34th book in the long-running Jack Ryan series. I did just recently review this on the channel as well, if you wanted to take a look at the video. I just found it great. What was the best thing about this book, it was so refreshing because it was a Jack Ryan prequel book. We haven't seen a prequel book featuring Jack Ryan since 2002's Red Rabbit. So you can imagine my excitement when this first popped up on my radar earlier in the year. Just couldn't wait to get my hands on it, and I just loved reading about Jack Ryan and the other characters that you don't see much of them anymore. You've got Mary Pat Foley, the super spy. You have James Greer, makes a brief appearance. You have Dan Murray. You have John Clark. He's back in action as a younger man. It was just fantastic, and I won't go too much into the plot or anything like that, because I do want you to watch the review video I did, where I go into a lot more detail. But it made my book of the month for a very simple reason, is that it was a prequel novel featuring Jack Ryan, which I think myself and a lot of the fans of the Tom Clancy series have been craving. And I mentioned in the video that given that the current novels in the Ryanverse timeline features Jack Ryan as president, but he's been president for 2 terms now, and you know, I think they need to spread the series out and put a couple more prequel novels in place. Now, unfortunately, the next book coming out, called Flashpoint, is another Jack Ryan Jr. book, which, you know, I love those books as well, but just hoping in the future that there will be more Jack Ryan prequel books, because I loved how this one just fleshed out the character a lot more, and I really like how Mark Cameron really fleshed out Jack Ryan's character, because he has become one of my favourite contributors to the Jack Ryan series, and he just nailed it in my opinion. Now, I do have Mark Cameron coming on the channel one day soon. It's not going to be January as I first thought, because we have conflicting schedules, and Mark's actually travelling throughout most of January. So we're going to tee something up for Feb and do a live chat Q&A, which I'm very excited about, and I can't wait to pick his brains about all the Jack Ryan books he has written and Jack Ryan Jr. books, and also talk to him about his own thriller series that he has written as well. So I can't wait for that. So there you go. Now, with my January reading plans, I am doing a reading vlog, and I've decided to do the reading vlog on The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I am reading this as a read along with a couple of other booktubers. I've got Scott from the Bookish Bryants, and I've got Nathan from the Rambling Reviewer, who we've all joined together, and we're going to read this for the whole month of January. If it takes that long, it probably does. It's going to be the longest book I've ever read, at 1236 pages, and I've started to film the vlog videos now. I've done the introductory video, and I'll certainly be doing maybe 8 to 10 videos to make up the whole reading vlog, which will be released towards the end of January. But 5 chapters in, I'm really enjoying this. You can actually injure someone with this one, it's so thick. But yeah, I've got some thoughts and impressions that I've already recorded for the first part of the vlog, and looking forward to putting out the whole video. It is certainly a bucket list book that needs to be checked off the list, and once I finish it, I'll be glad to say that I have read it. and it'll just be another notch in the old reading belt. But yeah, really looking forward to that. So there you go, guys, my December wrap up is done, including my book of the month. Let me know what your book of the month was. What's the best book you read in December? And let me know in the comments below. As always, please offer feedback below and I'll always respond to that. Always up for a chat about anything you want to talk about, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later.